Alright, so we're gonna talk about Lian now. Lian is a champion I like playing. I do like playing Lian. First thing you need to know when you're talking about Lian is A, everything that she fires except her ult counts as a weapon attack. So she applies Caught and Wrecker with everything. Lian is simultaneously one of the easiest and the hardest damage dealers to use. She has two abilities that have auto-aim in her Valor and her Grace. And then she has her Presence and her Primary Fire, which require pinpoint fucking aim in order to hit. Her ult has a little bit of a soft lock on it. Compared to other damage champions, she's not as high maintenance. For example, she doesn't have the precise aim that a Shaolin does, nor does she require as bad, or nor does she rely as little aim as someone like a Vivian or even a Victor. She doesn't have the crowd control of a Tyra or a Bomb King. What she is a straight damage dealer. And it's important to know what she does. So she has a primary fire that shoots pretty quickly. You get off about 2 to 3 shots a second. They do 400 damage, and they do have headshot damage. So you can get 600 on a headshot. She does have decent amount of damage fall off, though, so be warned on that. She has her Valor, which is basically a shotgun spread as her L2, and it hits everything in front of her. That deals 400 damage. She has her Grace, which is her R1, which is a slide maneuver that fires a shot that does 400 damage to the nearest enemy to you where you were aiming. She has her Presence, which is a long-range sniper attack. You have to charge it for half a second, and then it shoots in a straight line through enemies and does 800 damage. And they all apply Cauterize, Wrecker, Bulldozer, anything that applies weapon attacks. And then you have your ult, which makes you damage and CC immune for 1 second, and then you fire off a shot that does 1600 damage, and if you kill someone with it, you get 50% of your ult charge back. Pretty good. Now, unlike most of the champions I've covered in this series so far, where if you look, Atlas to me has one viable talent in Unstable Fissure. If you look at the next character we did with Genos, where you have Luminary, that's pretty much the go-to. The other two are strong, but they're not as good as Luminary is. You have Victor, where I think Shrapnel is, again, the only good card on him. Victor. And then you have Xin, where you have all of his talents are good. Lian's in a different boat. Lian has two talents that are good, and Alacrity and Eminence, and one talent that's dog shit. So let's look at Precision. Precision is hitting consecutive shots, which is basically R2, L2, R1, L1, increases your damage up to 25%. But it only works on the target that you're shooting. So the downside to me is this. So it's increasing your burst damage by like 1 per shot, whereas you have Eminence can give you an additional up to an additional 400 more damage based off of range. You can get up to a 1200 burst off of it, and it reduces the cooldown by 4 seconds. So your Presence goes down to an 11-second cooldown by default, which you can get lower with cooldown reduction. And you have Alacrity, which is my personal favorite. I think it is her strongest because it gives her 2 auto aims that hits everybody in front of her. So you have Valor and you have Grace. And it reduces the cooldown by 1 second. So you have a 4-second movement ability that hits everybody in front of you. And you can very easily stack 800 damage to everything in front of you. That's what we're going to work around. So we're working around builds. Just to show you guys my normal build. This is my go-to build. It's like cooldown reduction. It's the best thing you can run on her, just like Tyra. I have an Eminence-based build where I basically just have Heraldry in there at 5. And I have less points in the health. This is a self-healing build where I have extra health. I get 200 health off of every ability that I use, except my primary fire, but I have less cooldown reduction. And then I have Bob, which is a speed build where I just get, I get Nimble 1 off the bat, plus I get an additional 20% after using certain abilities with some cooldown, some health. What we were going for is a specific build, but I'm going to explain some of the stuff. So, let's start with what cards you don't want to use. Manifest Dynasty I wouldn't use. This increases how far you dash. You don't really want to increase that, in my opinion, because you're going to dash off a cliff if you use it in that situation. The moving faster during the Grace, I see a lot of people use that. I don't use that. I don't really have a problem with that. I think that, like, you see a lot of PC people, they're like, oh yeah, it just causes it to, like, go through, the animation goes faster. I don't have a problem. I don't really use that. Movement speed, after using Grace, I actually like that a lot better. Because I would rather have some mobility for 3 seconds after using a slightly longer Grace than having a slightly faster Grace with my normal speed afterwards. This is a decent card to use. It works better with Alacrity, obviously, with the extra second cooldown reduction, but 200 health, 250 health after using Grace is pretty solid. Signet Rin is not a strong one to me, just because of the fact that I do have a hard time aiming her presence at long range, and that movement speed can throw off my aim. Enemies hit by presence, reducing the cooldown on Valor. It's important to note this stacks up to 3 seconds. So if you hit your presence one time, you can drop the cooldown on your presence down to, on your Valor down to 5 seconds. And there is a card here where hitting enemies with Valor reduces the cooldown of your presence by 2 seconds. And if you hit all 5 enemies, you can take 10 seconds off. If you run that with Eminence, you basically have an infinite build. But I'm not really particularly fond of that style. But these two cards work very well together. This is another one that works well, which is you can reduce the cooldown of Grace for every enemy hit with Valor. And again, so you can put this at just tier 2, and it's insane. Because if you hit all 5 enemies with Valor, you've instantly reset the cooldown on your Grace. Without Alacrity. With Alacrity, it's more than enough. So that's a good card to run as well. Revitalizing Gem. That's a nice one as well, because remember, if you can hit all 5 enemies with it, then you get 1,000 health off of that. That's pretty good. Hits with Valor restore 1 ammo. This is, again, every enemy that you hit. So you can get potentially up to a full magazine off of just having this at tier 2. Just having this at tier 2 is pretty strong, but that's if you can hit all of the enemies. This is obviously one of her strongest cards because it just reduces the cooldown by hitting the ability. So if you hit your presence and you're running Eminence, this enables you, basically if you hit every presence in the game, you have a constant 9-second reduction. So it's a 6-second cooldown all the time on that ability. Present Arms is decent, increased health after using presence. The movement speed card's not that great because it only stacks at 15%. You want it to stack like 10, which is why on my other build I have it at 12. Just so I get that little extra boost of movement. These are the cards we're going to be focusing on. These should be in every build. For the most part. Okay? These right here. And as a bonus, just to put my filler cards in real quick, I'm going to put this in. And I named the filler card. I'm going to put this in. Alright, this is what we're going to run with. We're going to put this at 5. We're going to put this at 5. We're going to put this at 3. This is what we're running. Now, these cards are really important. The extra ammo, which that's the point of this build. Normally, I wouldn't run at 5, but extra ammo is always nice. Is good. And Inheritance is her strongest card, just because of the fact that it enables you to instantaneously, like, get 2 eliminations, and you're pretty much good to go. Go. And we're going to jump into a game now. Still need a game of support. The thing with Lian, where she just does so much damage, and she's so effective at, like, dealing damage. She's a straight damage hero. She's very much in the vein of Tyra. That's the type of damage champion I like Tyra and Bomb King. They're more focused on just dealing damage or crowd control. That's what I like in a damage dealer. That's why I like Vivian, but not too much, because she's more focused, you know, like, revealing and scouting. She's kind of slow and bulky. Victor, he's more of a damage dealer other than the sprint. You know, characters to me like Shaolin and Cassie are strong. The downside to me with, like, someone like Cassie is Cassie relies too much on her mobility. Shaolin, he just takes too long sometimes. People like Kanessa and Strix are very static. They're like, sit in the back and stay and shoot. I don't like Drogos because I don't like flying champions. Dredge is another one. He's great at, like, bombarding the point with damage, but other than just denying a specific area, he's like Willow. Other than denying a specific area, they don't really do that much. I like Lian very much just because of the fact that she just does damage. Her job is damage.
Lian.
That's why I like Lian and Tyra so much.
That's Miss Aiko to you.
I find it so weird how they have these.
Lian.
The order of this.
Lian.
Ugh.
Ugh. Lian.
Lian.
Ugh.
Lian.
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 I don't like the goddess, but a lot of people do not like her. They're like, oh, I hate Lian. I wish they'd remove her from the game, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, she has a role. You're like, it's boring to play. Not really. She deals a lot of damage. For this build, by the way, we're using Alacrity. We are not using Precision. I don't really use Eminence that much. I mostly use Eminence in either very small maps or very large maps. In smaller maps where it's easier to confirm in like longer corridors or longer sightline maps. So something like a timber mill or a fish market, I would use that. But she would not be my first choice on either of those maps. Alacrity is something I definitely like. That's if we can get into a queue. We've been having problems with queues all day. As a side note, Paladins has this little coupon thing here where you get a discount for PS Plus members, 20% off buying a Battle Pass level. That's not a discount. I'm not going to spend 56 crystals on that. I'm going to like hang on to that coupon, and maybe when I get closer to the end of the Battle Pass I might.
Select a champion.
This is a good Lian. Oh my god, you're fucking kidding me. You're fucking kidding me.
Seconds remaining.
Sorry, guys.